Morning, all. I don't even know where to start with this. I honestly don't even know where to start with this because no matter how low I've ever gone on somebody, I've never gone to where Laura went at 2:30 this morning. Yeah, Trisha, you're unblocked. Hey, Miss Melissa, and I'm waiting to get the clip. But at 2 o'clock this morning, Laura went live with Heidi. Now, Heidi, let me tell you something. I'm sorry I haven't said hello to everybody, but my heart is fucking broken right now. Heidi, let me tell you something. You've been running around for weeks crying because people's been talking about your new grandbaby's feet. Her feet. I'm sure your grandbaby has beautiful feet. And Trisha, thank you for working with me to get the clip. But Laura, what you said about my son and the fact that you waited until 2:30 in the morning to say it, you lady are going to rot in hell for what you said about my son. Here's the gist of what Laura said about my son. She said, I need to worry more about my drug addicted son who's back in jail. Nobody knew my son was back in jail, but I'm going to explain that to you guys too, okay? So just hang tight. I'm going to tell you the story of why my son's back in jail, okay? She said her kids won't end up being heroin addicts. I pray to God she's right. I pray to God, Laura, you're right. Because it is absolutely the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life. I've dealt with cancer. I've dealt with basically being homeless. But the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life is loving my son through his addiction. So I pray that you're right. I really do, Laura. I pray to God that you're right because heroin, drug addiction does not discriminate. It does not discriminate. And for Heidi to allow this to go on to her panel, and yes, I will get the clip of what Laura said. But when I woke up to that this morning, my fucking heart was broken because I have never, ever, ever gone after Laura's children. I have never, and I won't. I still won't go after your kids, Laura, because your kids don't deserve your behavior on YouTube, just like my son doesn't deserve my behavior. My son has a heart so big, but he also has a disease. And you making fun of him is like you making fun of somebody with cancer or diabetes or anything else. The fact that you can sit and say that this pandemic hasn't affected your life, it proves to me, Laura, that you're really not a human being. It proves to me that you're really not a human being. Now, let me explain to you all. My son had gotten sober, okay? He's had his battles. He's gone off and on. He's an addict. He's gotten clean. He's gotten dirty. He's gotten clean. He's used again. But before we go any further, I have a nephew that OD'd twice yesterday. So this really, really, really has hit me hard. But my son had gotten clean. He was working. He was maintaining a job, and everybody knows that around Christmas time, he came down with a blood infection that could kill him. And yes, because of my subs donating, I was able to fly down to Florida at the spur of the moment at Christmas time because I couldn't afford a plane ticket to be by his bedside while I had doctors telling me that if they couldn't get this infection in his blood cleared up, that if it went to his heart, it would kill him, that my 33-year-old son would die because of the things that he's done to his body. I didn't give birth to my son and say, God, I hope he grows up to be a drug addict. He didn't ever growing up say, Mommy, when I grow up, I want to be a drug addict. It didn't go down that way. I love my son more than I love life itself. When he was in the midst of his addiction, I got on my hands and knees and I prayed. And I told God, God, I'll do the cancer again. You can take me if you just make him healthy. So Chance gets this drug infection. Laura knows all about it. I'm sure she's probably drugging around YouTube. So I leave and I go to Florida to be by his side. And yes, I did leave my son in Florida because walking away from him is what saved his life. Because the longer I stayed there, the longer I enabled him. Every time that he needed a place to lay his head, every time he was hungry, he was cold, and mama was there, I was killing him. I was loving him to death. And I had to realize this. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do was to pull out of that parking lot while my son stood there crying, while I stood there crying, while I hugged him. And yes, I gave him a couple $100 and I knew what could happen. I knew he could take that couple $100 and he could use it to get high and it might kill him. Or he could use it to put a roof over his head. But it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do was to pull away and leave that kid standing there alone. And for you, Laura, to go on a live stream and say something like that, that I should be concerned about my drug addicted, heroin addicted son that lives halfway across the country when I have never, Laura, I have never, ever attacked your children. And I would never, ever, ever attack your kids, ever. I don't know how much longer I can do this, you all. I don't know how much longer I can do this. This has become so ugly. I had nothing to do with Diane getting a hold of those disgusting awards. It's not my fault. But you know what? At this point, I don't care. And Laura, for you to say that Makeup Mobster will surely be happy with me now that I've hooked up with Diane. I haven't hooked up with anybody, Laura. My relationship with Makeup Mobster is just fine. We are both adults. So please quit trying to drag Leanna into it. But the story about my son, he gets this blood infection. The doctor tells him at the clinic to go straight to the hospital. By the time I get on a plane and get down there, they needed to do a test where they ran a scope down his throat into his heart to see if uh, the yeast had landed in his heart. Because if so, he was gonna die. He was gonna die because he would be up for a heart transplant, and a 33-year-old drug addict doesn't exactly go at the top of the list when it comes to needing a new heart. So after he got out of the hospital and I left to come back to Indiana, he went to report to probation. Probation said he had fresh track marks. He tried to explain that he had just been in the hospital and that was where they had drawn so much blood from him because he had a blood infection. They were drawing blood every few hours and growing cultures. And Laura knows all about this. She knows every bit of this. So basically, his probation officer insisted that he was using again. And at the time, because Chance had been in the hospital, he had become dehydrated and he couldn't piss on command. So he went back to the hospital where he got hydrated. He took 3 drug tests and they still violated him because he couldn't piss at the center, at the probation. So yes, my son is sitting in jail right now. But I want to play you all. I get 29-second clips with my son. Okay? That's how I get to communicate with my son right now, is through 29-second clips. And I want to play a couple for you because I want you to hear what a good kid he is and what a heart he has. Laura, you've gone low, man. You've gone so low before. And I don't care what you say about me. I don't care what you say about me. But when you bring my son into this, I'm sorry, guys, I'm not even reading chat. When you bring my son into this, you've gone way too low, girl. You've gone way too low. These are the kind of messages I get from my son. This is how we communicate.
Hey, I'm just calling to say hey, see how you're doing. Uh, I got your money. I appreciate it. It's about 3 o'clock Wednesday. So just want you to know that I'm worried about everybody out there. Everything's fine in here. So I love you, and send me a message whenever you get this. All right. Have a good day. Bye.
Did you hear that? That's my son, Laura. That's the one you want to sit on a panel at 2 o'clock in the morning and drag. That's my son. Oh, I can play you more. I can play you more where he's begging me to stay healthy out here while he sits in a jail cell where he can't do self-distancing, where he's begging me to stay healthy because he said, "Mom, you're my rock, man. And I promise you, when I get out of here, I'm going to go back to being the good Chance before I got locked up." He had the opportunity to walk out of that courtroom, and he chose to do his time instead. And he chose to do his time so that he could get out of probation and he could come back to Indiana to visit me, so that he could be with me. My heart is broken too, Cuttlefish. When I woke up to this mess, I couldn't believe that at 2 o'clock in the morning, Lord, I don't care what she says about me. I don't care what she says about me. And Heidi, for you to allow it, the least you should do is have the balls to put that back up and stand behind what was said on your panel. You should put that clip back up, Heidi, and stand behind what Laura said on your panel. because you're all upset because there's a picture of your grandbaby's feet rolling around somewhere. You think I don't worry about my son and this COVID shit while he's sitting in a fucking prison? You think that shit ain't on my nerves every single fucking day? For you to do this to me, Laura, you are the most heartless piece of shit I have ever come across in my life, because I have never, ever had an unkind word to say about one of your children, and I still won't. And you being an addict yourself, Laura, for you to say your kids will never be an addict, you better you better start believing in God, and you better get on your hands and knees, and you better pray that that's the case. You better fucking pray that that's the case. You better pray, Laura. I want you to hear some of the messages that he sends me. These are 29-second clips that I get to have with my son.
Hey, if you sent another 40, you need to get that right, because that's not cool. Because I swear on everything, I didn't get it.
He's talking about money that I sent that he didn't get.
That you sent it. Hey, Mom, it's Tuesday. Just calling to say, hey, see how you're doing. I'm doing all right. I got your money. I really appreciate it. They could have waited till the end of the week, but I probably won't even use it until Thursday or so. So appreciate it. I love you. They made me a permanent. They started my Hep C and Hep B treatment, and they'll give me the medicine when I get out, whatever I still need. So I love you. Have a good day. Keep your spirits up. I'll be out soon. Bye.
So while he's sitting in prison, while he's sitting in jail, again, another blessing, because they're giving him the treatment for his hepatitis C, something that he would have never gotten out here on the streets. So am I grateful for that? Yeah, I am. I'm very grateful for the fact that my son's getting treatment. Do I miss him? I miss him every single day. I miss him. See, I'm never one of these moms that say, oh, good, he's gone for the weekend. Oh, good, I don't have to deal with him for the weekend. I miss my son. I miss cuddling up and watching movies with him, even though we both hate the same movies. He's into wars and civil wars and history. I hate that shit. But Laura, I'm telling you right now, I am declaring a peace treaty with you, because if you would go so low as to bring my child into this and talk about his addiction and put it out there that he's back in jail, that's something I didn't tell anybody, Laura, because I know that there's people on YouTube that will fuck with him. But I'm going to tell you what, Laura, I want it to end, and I want it to end right now. I'm going to get the clip of what you had to say about my son, Laura, because so far all I've heard is about 15 people message me and say, I am so sorry for what she said. But you know what, Laura? You're not going to change me. You're not going to change me. If you think I built my channel off your back, you can keep believing it. I don't care, Laura. I'm not your mole. I don't give a fuck about what's going on in your Patreon. I don't give a fuck about what's going on in your Discord. But for you to drag my son and his addiction into your ornery ass world, I'm sorry, Laura, you got me. You win, bitch. You win, okay? If this is a competition, Laura, you win. You take that pat on the back, girl. You hold your head high and you say, I beat Tracy, okay? You win because I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the ugliness. I'm tired of, I don't care who you like and who you don't like. The fact that I go into Diane's channel has no bearing on the way I feel about Leanna. I love Leanna. I adore Leanna. Does it hurt my heart to see people that I thought cared about me set in Laura's stream while Laura's bashing me? Yeah, it does. It kind of hurts my heart a little bit, but I'm a big girl. I'll get over it. So, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to sit around and I'm going to wait for my tablet to ding. And it says, you have a message. You have a message from your son. My son's going to be okay, Laura. But please don't ever think that drugs discriminate, especially coming from an addict yourself. If you think your kids haven't heard the way that you talk about your drug use on YouTube, you're crazy. And guess what? I've never been a drug addict, and it didn't discriminate against my son. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry that you all had to wake up to this, but I had to let Laura know. You win, Laura. Okay? It's over. You win. Anything you want to say about me from here on out, feel free. Say it. But I am begging you with everything in me to leave my son alone because my son is the kind of person that if we were sitting in a crowd and there was not another chair and you walked up, he'd be the first one to stand up and say, here, take my seat. Because that's how I raised my son. I raised him with manners. He's a drug addict with manners. He's got sobriety behind him. I'm going to celebrate it every fucking day with him, even if it's through 29-second videos. Heidi, put the stream back up. Put the stream back up. Because if you think people running around talking about your grandchildren's feet, and like I said, I'm sure they're adorable feet, is a problem, then have somebody sit on a panel and talk about your son who has a disease like drug addiction and who's sitting in a place that can't get away from COVID. But you know what? My son's going to be okay. And me and my son, we're going to be together one of these days. Get rid of that Diane sticky fingers, please. Saw that nasty troll in Laura's. Like I said, guys, I'm sorry. But what I woke up to, I can't. I can't. You win, Laura. Okay. Game over. I tried to leave you. I thought I did it the best way I could. That wasn't good enough. There's a reason, Lori, you can't maintain a friendship because you don't have an ounce of empathy in your heart. Not an ounce of empathy. There's a reason why people that have stuck by your side for years are walking away from you right now. But you know what? They're just numbers, Laura. To you, they're just numbers. So I'm going to get off here. I'm going to quit being a blubbering idiot. But I did want to let Laura know you win, bitch. You win, okay? I'll never say your name again. But I want you to leave my son's name out of your mouth because I would never stoop so low as to speak horribly. I would never say, I've never had anything but beautiful things to say about your children because you know what? They are three beautiful kids, three healthy, beautiful kids. Instead of rubbing shit in my nose, how about you count your blessings, Laura? How about you count your blessings? Guys, I appreciate you all coming in here. I'm sorry I didn't acknowledge the chat. I appreciate you all supporting my chat. I'm sorry if any of you all feel torn because you're my sub and you're Laura's sub. I'm sorry. I never wanted it to be this way. But there comes a time when you have to throw the towel in. And when my son is part of that, is when I throw the towel in. So I'm waving the white flag, Laura, okay? I'm waving the white flag, Laura. You hit me where it hurts. So good for you. Now carry on, and I hope you prosper. I hope all your dreams come true, Laura. I really do. Because I'm not going to allow you to take an ounce of my heart or space in my brain anymore. Guys, I love you all, and I'll see you around the tubes. Stay healthy.